My name is Christine G, and I am going to be going over some tips for the final project. So this final project, you'll have milestone 1 that's going to be due in week 2. So in module 2, you can see you'll have the introduction that is due right here. And you can find this in the discussion area also in the main menu. When you go to submit it, you want to start a new thread and you have to attach it. So you don't want to just put it in here. You have to add the attachment, and you can write in here, attaches my article, write something in the subject line, or I'm sorry, attaches my introduction, something like that. But the most important thing is you've got to add the attachment, add it as an attachment. I will be uh, evaluating it in the grade book. And so when I do that, you can see over here on the right, here's a sample student paper. And you notice they have an a title page, and you have to have that and the page number. And here you'll notice that here's the introduction, and you will have the prompt. There are 3 parts to the prompt, and each one will, for the introduction, there's the focus, which is Roman numeral 1, Roman numeral 2 is the population, and then the third Roman numeral is the research question. Each of these should have a good paragraph, so it should be at least a page. Now over here are comments from the professor, and I will be commenting on your work once you submit it. But for now, you're submitting it into the milestone area, where peers can review it, and you're going to be reviewing other students as well. So make sure that you go ahead, and that will be found in the discussion area. Right now I'm going back to the learning modules, and you want to put in significant helpful feedback for your peers, and you have to respond to at least 2 peers. And if you respond to me on something, that doesn't count. This is a peer review exercise. So hope that makes sense. So now I'm going to go into start here. And if you look, let's see, it's down here under assignment, guidelines, and rubrics. So here you'll notice there are different rubrics and links for them. And for the milestones, right now we're going to take a look at milestone 1, guidelines and rubric, as well as the final project extra help. So here's the final project extra help. Now, if you have not chosen an article, please do so immediately from the provided list. So the list looks something like this, and you can just pick the topic you like the best. You click into it, and then you'll be able to see the article and read through it. So make sure you do that right away. And then here are some tips about how to evaluate the article and how to go through and get some of the information. So you'll see these are the 3 Roman numerals that you have to cover for the introduction. So identifying the specific focus. Again, here we go. Introduction is the label here, and then focus, and then a paragraph on focus. And then describe the specific characteristics on the population. Again, you're going to be doing that, so it's all easy to find, and then the research questions. So here, let's go ahead and take a look at the rubric. I recommend throughout writing this introduction and different milestones that you're always looking at the rubric, making sure everything's covered, always looking at the prompt. So first of all, when we look at the first part of the initial post, which is the introduction, the focus portion, so that's Roman numeral 1, you want to make sure you accurately identify the specific focus of the research. So you want to, in doing that, you're going to really look at the abstract and the introduction to get that that focus, that purpose of this article. And, the difference between that and needs improvement, that, you're identifying the focus of the research, but not fully accurately, or you lack specificity. And so you want to make sure that that is done properly. And then that you're accurately describing the characteristics of the population being studied. So here, you'll notice the needs improvement, that you're around 70% of doing that, but you want to make sure. So, like, let's say it's the population being studied is all college students, and perhaps you're talking about the sample that doesn't include that includes only public universities and not private. So maybe that's something that you want to talk about. Or are they just looking at males or females? So is it really covering the characteristics, describe the specific characteristics, and make sure that it's accurately describing that population that you're looking at. So, and then here, evaluate the research question or questions and associated hypothesis of the chosen study in terms of their significance. So, are they important? And then you're evaluating. So you're not only just giving letting me know, your reader know the hypothesis and the research questions, but you're also evaluating, is this significant and does this make sense? And here, under needs improvement, you're discussing them and the research questions and associated hypothesis, but you're not evaluating them. So give you need to have your opinion in here. So and your judgment on it. So make sure that that's being done. And even if your opinion is off, or your judgment may not be what someone else would have, that's okay, but have it in there. So articulation of the initial response, again, this is just about the grammar, spelling, syntax, all of that. Now, very important, we have a writing center, and I recommend engaging you can set up an appointment. You can also, there's a place in here that you can, under the learning modules, let me go back to those, course menu. I have my screen smaller, so it's harder to get there. It doesn't usually look like this, but under academic support, you can even upload a paper for written feedback. So please allow 48 hours. So really working ahead, getting things in quickly makes a huge difference. So I recommend, getting help from the writing center that you need, because your grammar and punctuation and all of that and your citations all count. And then you have to have it in on time. It's due on Thursday. The initial posts are due on Thursday, and then peers are reviewing it, and they have until Sunday. And you've got to get in your peer reviews also. So engagement, peer review, feedback. So make sure it's relevant and meaningful response. This, I agree with you, or a great idea, that's not helping your fellow peers. So you want to make sure it's significant. And then engagement, writing mechanics. So you're easily understood, clear and concise, using proper citation methods where applicable, with no errors in citation. So definitely couple things that you want to note. This paper is in APA format. So you have to cite all your references using the APA format, and definitely I will, I've got a resource on that. Oh, here I have about you don't want to just say I agree or you are wrong. It's got to be significant, the peer responses. So the guidelines for the submission, so the introduction section, 1 page plus the title page, and references. So references would be on a whole separate page, and it must be written in APA format. Use double spacing, 12 point times New Roman font, and then 1 inch margins, and cite all references in APA format. So this is important, and you may you within this paper you're going to have not in the introduction you want to have that reference already, and you want to have that in APA format, so that will be the 3rd page. But if you cite a citation within the text, an in-text citation you may have and you may use, and you'll want to, within your final project, at least have 1 citation. And of course, you're using this material from the article you've chosen, so you'll want to definitely cite that article. And here's the sample paper, and you'll notice there are comments over here. You don't have the comments, but you will when I start evaluating them for grades. So I'll put in comments that you'll need to adjust for the next milestone. So you'll need to take my feedback and make your edits. And you can do that also based on your peer feedback. So let's go ahead and take a look. So it says identify the specific focus of the research. In other words, what was the study about? What was the purpose of the study? And so here is the final project extra help. And an important key piece that you always want to review is the abstract, and it notes it right here. Skim the article without taking notes, read the abstract. It's going to tell you the major findings of the article and why they matter. So very important to read that over, read it several times. I can't stress that enough. And then also, some of the things you're going to be doing is, so you'll be able to get that focus from the abstract and also the introduction. There'll be information in there about the focus and what the purpose is. So definitely what the study is about, the purpose. You can always search keywords in the article too. You can do a Control F or a Command F, I believe. Let me see what it is. Command F, yes. And then you can search out certain keywords to help you. And then also we're going to skip over to Roman numeral 3. And this study, if we look at what the focus is, we can get that from the abstract and looking and the introduction. This one talks about growing fiscal concerns for criminal justice agencies and punitive ideological shifts have increased the financial consequences of conviction. The growth in legal financial obligations, which they call LFOs, such as fees, fines, and restitution resultant from conviction, has important implications for offender reentry, particularly offender reintegration, and opportunities for social advancement. Utilizing data culled from interviews and a sample under the supervision, the research documents the nature of prevalence of LFOs for an offending population and explores how they affect post-conviction experiences. So right here, they're really talking about the focus. So, you're writing a whole paragraph, and it's got to be in your own words. Very careful. You can run things through Turnitin, but this is your own work. It's got to be your own words. So you can quote things here and there, but you don't want to overquote or do anything like that. This is your work, and it's got to be in your own voice. So Roman numeral 3, evaluate the research questions of your chosen study. Did the researcher suggest hypotheses for the research question? To what extent are these questions significant, and why? So let's take a look, and we can always, there may be some overlap in the introduction about the research questions, and let's go ahead and put in research. Oh, look at that. So this one has, I was going to put in research, so I did a Control F or Command F and started to type in research, and right away I got a hit on it. So here, the research questions: what is the scope and totality of LFOs for a sample of ex-offenders in a Midwest state? That's interesting. So they're talking about a Midwest state, and how do LFOs impact structural, social, and emotional experiences post-conviction. So here's some research questions. You may want to search your paper for hypothesis or research questions, and read through everything carefully so you find them, because it could be you get lucky and find it right away like we did, but it could be that you don't. So you want to be careful about that, and make sure that you are writing about that properly. And then describe the specific characteristics of the population being studied. For example, what was the sample size? What were its demographics? So here, I think it's interesting that it's a sample of ex-offenders in a Midwest state. So what is the scope and totality of, so kind of interesting. So the method is, the method, how the study is put together. And you want to definitely read through that again, be reading things time and again. Okay, participants. I'm thinking that's where the sample is going to be, who's participating in the study. So, and look, here has the information about an overview of the background and demographic characteristics of the participants as shown in Table 1. And, okay, so we would go in there, but in total, we're fine to get the overview. The sample consisted of 131 offenders with felony, convicted of a felony, 55% of which were sex offenders. So this gives this information that's helpful, and you want to give all the details. In the case of writing this final project, don't feel like you're ever giving too much, so you are fine to put it all in there. And lit review, you'll notice they have these different titles. The literature review, or lit review, is about previous studies that they have been conducted and everything. So I don't, I'm sure they have that in this article, but I don't see a specific title for it. So anyway, this looks good, and I think, let me see, I'm going to give students access to, so that you can see this paper, and you'll notice it goes on, and then the references. I'm going to change this because this was not done properly. These references, there should be what we call a hanging indent, so I'll change that before I give access to that. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and please be really focusing on these 3 Roman numerals. And after you write everything up, go through the rubric and make sure you've followed it and you've nailed it, because that will save you so much time and help you with the grading. And also you can use the Turnitin resource to run your paper if you'd like, but the main thing is be making sure you're putting it in your own words. Very important. So, and if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.